friends, welcome back. My name's Ramon. How are you today? So here we are for another Fenty Friday. If you didn't watch my last week's video where I did a full in-depth review on the new Fenty Beauty Eaze Drop Skin Tint, I told you I was gonna be coming back this Friday, not only to show you a 1-week follow-up review on the skin tint and my thoughts on it, but also showing you how I get that really juicy, supple, glass skin look that you see on my Instagram and in my photo shoots using the Eaze Drops as well. I'm gonna say this now in the intro. I feel like there's this certain stigma around glass skin, especially within the skincare community, where there's this mindset that glass skin specifically sets unrealistic standards for what skin should look like. You know, people think it has to be this very flawless, poreless, smooth, like even base. But for me, it's not really all about that. For me, glass skin is really just giving your base a very effortless, very radiant glow, giving you really juicy, supple, wet looking skin. It's not about texture. It's not about the overall look of the skin, besides just making your skin look healthy and glowy. That's just me though. Yeah, primarily this is gonna be featuring mostly all Fenty products. I know this is a Fenty Friday, but I'm also just showing you some of the other products I use to incorporate into this look to really give me that wet, radiant glow. Primarily it's gonna be some Glow Recipe products, but I imagine you could be able to substitute these with other products as well. But before we get into it, I'm gonna ask that you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so that you know when I post more skincare, sunscreen, and Fenty related content on my channel. Give you a thumbs up, and down below in the comments, tell me, do you love glass skin? What are some of your favorite products to achieve glass skin? What are some of your favorite hacks? And also, are you using the Fenty Eaze Drops? What are your thoughts on them? What are some tips and tricks and hacks you figured out with them? Sound off. So first things first is all about skin prep. You really want all of it to start from like the base layers, not even your foundation, but before that. So obviously I'm gonna be using some of my Fenty skin favorites. And so first things first, what I'm gonna do is start to hydrate my skin using the fat water. So to preface this, my face is cleansed. I went in with the total cleanser already in my bathroom. I'm not doing that here in front of the computer again, but I'm just taking some of the fat water. I'm going to start building up the hydration in the skin. I think one of the nice things about the fat water, aside from the way it smells, which is delicious, is the fact that you're getting really nice hydration out of it, where there's also elements to it like niacinamide, like the witch hazel, that help promote a more refined pore texture. It can also help with some acne related causes. Niacinamide is a great anti-acne ingredient when used regularly. It also helps to control your sebum regulation throughout the day so that your base is going to look good and your oils aren't going to be crazy and therefore messing up your makeup. Do a couple more layers of this just because I like some extra juice. Also hit up your lips with this. I'm going to start my lip prep as well, and I love getting my lips nicely hydrated before I lock that in as well. So that being said, actually I'm going to be taking Gloss Bomb in the shade Glass Slipper just to get those lips nice and juicy now. Now that we're hydrated, we're gonna go in with your sunscreen. This is the Fenty HYDRA VIZOR. You should be wearing your sunscreen every day. But specifically what I like about this one is there's just this way this makes your skin look so radiant and juicy and supple, and somehow helps to start minimizing some texture issues in the skin. Just on bare skin, this looks amazing. But I'm really gonna be using the radiance that this gives the skin as a base layer of glow underneath all the makeup, so that by the end of the look, that's really starting to permeate and give you the outward radiance of the glass skin with your makeup on. So I'm taking approximately 4 to 5 pumps and just working that into the skin. Don't forget your eye area. But once that's on, I'm going to give it approximately 5 minutes to just set in so that my sunscreen is set and good. You need to let your sunscreen set for a little bit just to form that protective layer, and then we'll continue on to the next step. I do also want to note that 4 to 5 pumps was just for my face. I would do an extra 4 to 5 for my ears and my neck, front and back. Don't forget that. Okay, so now that it's had enough time to set down, a hack for me having oily skin is I love glass skin look. I love really radiant, wet looking skin, but I like to do that with intention. So I really have to control where and how my oils permeate to make the skin look as radiant without it really crossing that line into looking too greasy. So I do set parts of my face now, and this is just after sunscreen. If you want to prime, I would prime first, like with the Soft Matte Pro Filt'r primer, but I'm not doing that today. So I'm just gonna set my sunscreen itself as a primer. I'm gonna be taking, you can do this with a sponge. I was gonna be taking a like looser brush. I'm just gonna be pushing the powder in my like next to nose area. I know it's called the T-zone. Down the bridge of my nose, center of my forehead, and also as I mentioned, I will be setting around my eyes a little bit just to make sure the sunscreen doesn't like run into my eye. I'm just taking the Pro Filt'r Instant Retouch Setting Powder in the shade Banana. And this just acts like a barrier underneath your makeup to start absorbing some of the excess oil production. Eventually it's still gonna permeate. Like with me, there's no way of really stopping that full stop, but it helps slow it down. Now that's good. I didn't set my under eye itself, and that's because I'm gonna be blending out some color corrector. So first things first, with the base, what I like to do is I start to correct and spot conceal. With complexion for this, I really try to keep it minimal, so that way some of the things like my birthmarks can really shine through. That being said, I do intentionally and meticulously spot conceal and correct things to give me a more even looking base that still looks really natural. So as you can see, I do have some stuff under my under eye I'm going to be correcting. I do have some breakouts at the moment that I will be spot correcting as well. So I'm going to be using the Pro Filter concealers for that, in 270 to color correct and then 290 to spot conceal. Okay, so this is 270 and I'm going in on the inner third and outer third of my under eye. And while that's cooking, I'm also going to take 290 and conceal the blemishes I have on my cheeks. So now to start blending out the under eye, I'm just taking, again, like a looser, technically this is a shadow crease like blending brush, but I use it for concealer. And I'm making sure to meticulously keep that color corrector where the darkness and discoloration is. I'm not blending it all over my under eye. So I'm kind of like lightly blending, but also mainly just patting it, stippling it in. Okay, so those are color corrected. I'm gonna go and buff out the spot conceal now. So now that's done, I'm going to be going in with the Eaze drop now, and name of the game for this is keeping it sheer, but also like making sure I get that nice wash of color to really bring down the redness and any more discoloration in my skin. Will I have to spot conceal afterwards? Maybe, but it's going to be a lot less work, and you might be able to do so with the Eaze drop itself, but let's see. I'm going to be taking the shade 10 like I did in my last week review. Dispense color on the back of my hand. I'm going to be taking that with the Fenty 110 foundation brush. And I'm going to start actually more towards the perimeter of my face, and I'm going to more stipple it in towards the middle, only because I will be concealing the middle of my face as well, so I don't want a lot of product over there. Okay, so now that that's buffed out, I will be going in with a lighter concealer inside of my face to kind of brighten that up. The thing with 10, and if you watched last week's review, you would have seen that it really matches the perimeter of my face really well. It's the center of my face that's a little bit lighter, where I have a little bit of an issue. And so adding a little bit more dimension with a highlighter is really helpful, just to make my skin look a little bit more normal, a little bit less like I have product on, just because 10 by itself all over my face gives me a more flat, monochromatic look, and I don't want that necessarily. So I do want to start incorporating more dimension, and that is kind of important in glass skin to really help to add glow and really minimize the use of bronzers and contours, because for me glass skin is less about shading and a lot more about just really illuminating and brightening the face. So I'll be taking 230 in the Pro Filter concealer on the center of my face. And so that is the 230 buffed out. You can see I just kind of diffused it out from the center of my face outward, and actually took the 110 foundation brush that I used to buff out the skin tint and used it just to diffuse a little bit of the edge of where the two products met, just to make sure that blend was a little bit more seamless. Here we are now, and now I'm going to start setting my face and starting to add a little bit more dimension, but still very subtly. So I'm going to be taking the Instant Retouch setting powder, setting the center of my face just to make sure that product doesn't crease and that it's good. I will be avoiding for the most part the perimeter of my face, and I'll be using something else for that though. I'm gonna be taking with a fluffy shadow brush and just really pressing that powder in. And so now's the part where I start adding just a little bit more dimension, but I do this a little bit more subtly. For me, it's not so much about having a harsher contour and a bronzer line. It's being a little bit more subtle and intentional with how I do it. So what I'll be doing first is doing a little bit more of a subtle sculpt using the foundation powder in 290. This is just like on the upper end of my skin tone. It matches my forehead really well. So I'm gonna be using that to kind of lightly sculpt around the perimeter of my face. And then I will be doing some spot sculpting with an actual bronzer, being like, again, a little bit more meticulous with how I place that, because for me, it's not so much about that bronze, not sculpt, as it is about really like highlighting and illuminating the face. Me taking the foundation powder with a fluffier sculpting brush and really focusing that on the perimeter of my face, bringing it inward. This also gives you like a set on the perimeter of your face while also helping to add a little bit of coverage. If you've noticed, I'm more spot concealing here on the outer part of my cheek. And I'll also be taking, again, another like fluffier shadow brush, and I will be bringing this into my crease a little bit just for a subtle sculpt there. And then now that that's done, essentially that gave me a set and also a little bit of a light sculpt, but I will be deepening that up a little bit using the Stalk'r bronzer in the shade Private Island, taking a fluffier sculpting brush and really focusing that like on the perimeter of my face, under part of my cheekbone. I'll be bringing it into the crease as well. Now that that's done, I'm going to start the final touches. And first things first, I'm going to be doing my brows. I would use the brow MVP, but I don't have one right now. I ran out. I'm just taking a brow pencil and really just defining the edges and the shape of my brow. Nothing crazy. So now that pretty much all the powder, all the base, the brows and everything are done, it's time to start really incorporating and enhancing the glow, adding the radiance, giving yourself that juicy suppleness. So first thing I like to do is I'm going to spray my face, essentially. You could go in with the What It Do setting spray from Fenty, which I really enjoy, but my secret, my product of choice for really giving me that glow is actually the Glow Recipe Watermelon Mist. This is a bi-phase product, so you have the liquid as well as some oil product immersed in this, and so you shake it and you spray it on your face. This does act as a really nice setting spray, but it just adds a lot of radiance and illumination to the face as well. And so the way I use this is I primarily like to focus it on the perimeter of my face just to give myself the glow there. Does it get everywhere? Yes. Does that matter? Not right now. But we're just going to shake it up to mix the two phases together, and then we're just going to start spraying the perimeter of the face. And I am very liberal with this. And the way I see it is essentially that first step kind of melds the powder products and other complexion products in with your skin, so it's very natural, it looks very much like your skin. And then every subsequent layer is just adds a little bit more radiance, more glow, and that's when you should be a little bit more targeted with it, I guess. And then once that sets down, I start artificially adding some more radiance with some of the more highlighter products. And so I'm going to be going in with the Killawatt duo in the shade Mean Money Hustler Baby first, on the higher parts of the cheekbones, under the brow bone, center of my face. I specifically like the Mean Money Hustler Baby Killawatt duo just because the quality, the undertone of the shadow itself is very at one with my skin. It's hard to explain, where like it melds really nicely with my skin and it's not like outright shimmer and shine. But now that that's on, I'm also going to go in with the Diamond Bombs, and those are my favorite products specifically for like a wet glow. For example, I have Rose Rave right here, and these specifically, they're more high shimmer, more glitter. But if you really focus the product on a specific spot, you get a really nice icy wet glow, as you can see there on my fingertip. Essentially, I start to layer that with finesse on certain parts of my face. So actually for today's look, I'm going to be taking the Diamond Bomb in the shade How Many Carats, as well as Royal Icing. It's a bit more of a like summer look. It's a bit more warm, and so I want to focus that with the Royal Icing. And then I always hit up the high points with How Many Carats. That's my like go-to Diamond Bomb all the time, every photo shoot, no matter what, just because it's so icy that it just really gives a nice pop. I'll be taking Royal Icing. This is more of a gold shimmer. I'll be using my finger to apply that to the tops of my cheeks very gently. And I'll also be hitting up the center of my eyelid right above my pupil. I find Royal Icing as well as Hustler Baby are a really good complement to each other. And then if you want a little bit more of a blend, I will take like a fluffier brush and just kind of buff that out. I have an issue with the Diamond Bombs in that I can never get a brush to pick up the pigment nicely. So I always end up taking the tip of a sponge or my finger to apply the product first. But these are really nice just because if you have really focused light on you, like for example, like when you have lights in a photo shoot or even at the club, those like overhead lights, when they hit your skin with the Diamond Bombs on, you just get such an ethereal icy glow to the skin. It's very, very beautiful. Then I'll also be taking some of the Royal Icing into the inner corner of my eye. And then as I mentioned, I'm going to be going in, pretty much hitting up the higher points of the spots I just hit, but with How Many Carats now. And How Many Carats, as I mentioned, is just a lot more icy. You get a very intense whiteness essentially out of this, so I'm just a lot more precise with how I place this because I don't want like a silver streak across my cheek. And I'm gonna hit it one more time with the Watermelon Glow Mist. And again, not only is this really helping to like give your skin that supple wet glow, but it's also helping to meld the highlighter in a little bit more with the skin, just to make it more of one unit as opposed to like glitter sitting on top of your face. And while that's setting, I'll be going in and start to build up the lip that I normally do. I already prepped my lip once with glass slipper. Always prep your lips as you're about to start your makeup just because it allows your lips to nicely moisturize and that way they're not crusty at the end of the whole routine. But the iconic Glow by Ramon lip is really just a combination of two products. I take the gloss bomb in the shade Glass Slipper, which is their nice clear gloss. And I apply very generously, primarily in like the center of my lips, just because it's such a beautiful clear gloss. But then I also hit up my lips with the gloss bomb in the shade Hot Chocolate, just because it has that nice rich, it translates more as like a deep mauve-y kind of brownie color on me. It's not as purple, but I hit up like the edges and perimeter of my lips just because those are a little bit darker and this matches those a lot better. But now that the facial mist has had more time to set, I'll be doing 2 more steps before we're done. First and foremost, I'm going to be resetting the center of my face just with the Pro Filt'r Instant Retouch Setting Powder and just hitting up specific areas to mattify them, blur a little bit more, keep the shine very controlled. And the last step, the last product we use, and like what's really, it just looks really good on camera. It's one of the products that I've incorporated more recently that's just really like elevated the whole game. And that is the Niacinamide Dewdrops from Glow Recipe. And so when I first got this product, I was really imagining like a jelly product with like high shimmer shine in it, like mica or something, just to really elevate the like glow of your skin. But then I realized like this is really just a serum. They're not gonna really do that. So what this actually ends up being is just kind of like a clear jelly that gives your skin a like dewy, supple glow. You can see right there. It's like hybrid, like skincare meets makeup essentially. But I just carefully tap that into the high points of my cheeks. And that adds a lot of wetness right there. This does kind of set down and just give you a dew. It's not gonna stay like a jelly on your face. And so you have this combination with like the gloss and the shimmer on the eyelid. It's just an overall look that makes your skin look very radiant, very dewy, very supple. So this is how you can get really nice glass skin, even though you have oily skin and you're using a lot more product and powder to keep things matte as well. And yeah, that's how you get the like iconic Ramon photo shoot glass skin look. I have oily, acne prone skin. I understand the limitations to getting a super flawless, super smooth, poreless, like texture free base. And it's one of those things where that's why I try to tell people glass skin isn't about that, especially to me and how I do it. It's really just about really enhancing natural skin radiance, giving your skin a really hyper shine, healthy glow that's really easily achievable in my opinion. I know this was a lot of steps and this is how I get things as good and as like essentially photo shoot ready as possible. But you could really just take the Eaze drops themselves, spot conceal, give yourself a more even base, and just really amp up the radiance and shine with a combination of shimmer and like wet products. And last thing I want to talk about, obviously it's been a minute since I first started using the Eaze drops, my 1 week full impression on the product, and overall it's been a hit. There's been like no misses with it. In terms of like how I've learned to use the product, I, as you saw in the initial attempt video, have used the product on just a moisturized base over the HYDRA VIZOR to see how that plays, to see how it looks with oily skin and what that does. And like overall, like it does blur. It really minimizes texture on the skin and gives your pores a nice refined look. I had to learn how to make it a little bit more oily skin friendly. So as you saw today, I set my primer or my base before going on top of it with the Eaze drops, and that works really well for me to help control the shine throughout the day. And I find that just makes the overall final look a little bit more blurred, but also just it makes it last a little bit longer. My favorite combo, and I did it today for this, is the Eaze drops over a radiant base with the powder foundation on top of it, just to give the skin a really nice blurred look, give a little bit more coverage where I want it, but the powder foundation to me also adds a little bit of dimension to the face. So for me, that's like the hit combo. 10 is still the color I'm going to use. And I don't know if you saw earlier when I did arm swatches. It is a little bit on the darker end for me. It does match the perimeter of my face very well. I, in the perfect world, would take 8 in the center of my face and 10 on the outside of my face. I don't always want to do that though, so concealing and highlighting for me is going to be really important, like I did today with 230. But Eaze drops hit. It works with every single skincare product I've tried it with. It works beautifully as I expected with every other Fenty beauty product. Fenty hit it at the ballpark. 1 week first impression, it's a hit. I love it. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you know when I post more skincare, sunscreen, and Fenty related content on my channel. Give the video a thumbs up, and down below in the comments tell me, do you love a glass skin look? What are your favorite products or your tips to achieve that? What are your thoughts on the Eaze drops? Have you been using them? Are you gonna get them? Do you love them as much as I do? Sound off. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.